Tim, I need one more for a quorum, correct?
Let me count. You need 5 total. So, you, Chris, Ernest, Trevino. Yes.
I see that Dwight's on. Let me just check the participant list to see if there's anyone as an attendee that needs to be. So Bob Buford is in the attendee group. Can we get him promoted to panelist?
I just did it.
Okay, great. Commissioners, how are you? Good to see everyone.
Chairwoman Butler, I just sent you an email just on one issue for today.
If Commissioner Buford can accept the promotion, please, to panelist.
Okay, I pushed the wrong button. Sorry. That's common.
All right, commissioners, it's 1 p.m. We will begin. Good afternoon and welcome to the March 14th regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Gwendolyn Hatton Butler, chairwoman of the CDC and host of today's meeting. On February 3rd, Governor Pritzker renewed his executive order proclaiming that all counties in the state of Illinois as a disaster area. Section 7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act allows the CDC, along with other city boards and commissions, to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided certain conditions are met. One condition allows the chair of this commission to determine if an in-person meeting on the scheduled meeting date would not be practical or prudent. To ensure that today's virtual meeting meets all conditions of the Open Meetings Act, I am hereby making the determination pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Act that due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, an in-person meeting would not have been practical or prudent today. Therefore, in accordance with the Commission's emergency rules, this meeting is being held virtually on Zoom and can be viewed live via the Commission's website. A court reporter is present today to record the proceedings. Commissioners, you have all been designated as panelists, which allows you to control your microphone. Please remember to place your microphone on mute unless you wish to speak. If you would like to be recognized by the chair, please activate the raise your hand feature and you will be called in order. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on February 9th on the CDC's website and physically in City Hall. I will now call to order the March 14th meeting of the Community Development Commission with a call of the roll. Commissioners, when your name is called, please turn your microphone on and respond by saying present, and please also indicate that you can hear me. Vice Chair Wheat.
Present, and I can hear you.
Secretary Chan McKibben.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Buford.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes, here.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Curtis.
Yes, I'm present and I can hear you.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas is absent today. Commissioner Trevino.
Present, and I can hear you.
Thank you. We have a quorum. The first item on our agenda requests approval of the minutes from our previous meeting held on February 14th. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there are no corrections, I am looking for a motion to approve. Are there any corrections? Do I have a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Do I have a second?
Second
Second
by
by
Commissioner
Trevino.
McKibben. Oh, sorry, it's fine.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Trevino. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. If you were not in attendance during the February 14th meeting, please abstain from this vote. Vice Chair Wheat,
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben,
Yes,
Commissioner Buford,
Yes,
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Abstain?
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Thomas is absent, Commissioner Trevino.
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioners, for our first item of new business, DPD is seeking authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC for the redevelopment of the property located at 4848 West Madison Street in the Madison Austin Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC as developer. Garrett Ryu will provide a brief description on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Is
All
Garrett?
right, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Garrett.
All righty.
Please begin.
Good afternoon, Troy. I'm a Butler and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Garrett Ryu, financial planning analyst with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today are my supervisors, Terrence Johnson and Tim Jeffries from DPD, and Jordan Melendez of the development team, as well as here to answer any questions you may have. The resolution before you requests a recommendation to the City Council for the designation of KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC as the developer for the Cadence Cannabis project, and the authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer. Oh,
Garrett,
just
will
been,
you be sharing a screen?
just been
There we
informed
go.
that was not happening. Thank you. And thank you, Terrence. Alrighty. The proposed project is in the Austin community area, the 28th Ward and the Madison Austin TIF district. The project is located to the northwest of the intersection at Madison and Cicero. These slides show the current site conditions. The building was previously a Moo and Oink grocery store and has been vacant for more than 10 years. The developer proposes a substantial rehabilitation of the current building at 4848 West Madison. The developer will also add 18,466 square feet of new construction. The project is set to start in Q4 of this year and be completed in Q2 of 2024. The developer executed a real estate purchase agreement for the property in July 2022. The developer, KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC, is minority owned and operated. Multiple principals on the development team have worked on craft cannabis cultivation facilities in the past. Reed Construction will be the development's general contractor. As a Chicago-based firm, Reed has constructed cannabis facilities across the nation, including in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Lansing, Michigan, as well as in Illinois, in Springfield, Schaumburg, and Chicago Ridge. The project's architect is Silvestro Designs, which is based in Bronzeville. The total project cost is estimated to be approximately $11.7 million. The project will be funded by owner equity, lender financing, and TIF funding. The funding will be provided as a loan in the amount of $4 million or 34% of the total project cost for TIF eligible expenses. The loan will be provided with a 10-year term and a 30-year amortization at below market interest rates. Sale of the facility will trigger immediate repayment of the loan. Here's the project exterior rendering, as well as the interior rendering. The project will rehabilitate a large parcel, which has been vacant for over 10 years. It will create 25 full-time positions in the first year, with 75 positions projected after year 3. The project will also improve the pedestrian corridor at Madison and Cicero with enhanced landscaping, lighting, and security measures taken at the site. DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, the final structure of the project, and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plans. And DPD recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the designation of KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC as the developer for the Cadence Cannabis project. DPD also requests that the commission provide DPD with the authority to negotiate, execute, and deliver on the city's behalf a redevelopment agreement with KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC for the project. Alderman Irvin was briefed on the project and the use of TIP funds and is in support of the project and is here today to speak on the project. Thank you, and I welcome any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Garrett. Did you say that Alderman Irvin is on today?
He was supposed to be. I don't know that I got to check.
Yeah,
just
I don't,
before.
we thought he was going to be on it, but I don't see him here.
Okay, great. But we do have his support for, the department does have his support for this recommendation. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. There were no written statements submitted for this item. We can now move to questions. Commissioners, the department is joined today by Jordan Melendez and Lisa Shin from the development team, who are available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Wheat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, a question for DPD staff. I think this is potentially, and I'm open to being wrong here, the first cannabis-based project that's come before the commission. So let me ask a first order question. I mean, these are all city funds, but there have obviously been some kind of, there have been a variety of conflicts with the federal government in terms of what licensing, funding, kind of banking, et cetera. Are there any, does this create any issues in terms of other federally funded or backed projects that the department supports, CDBG, et cetera? Tim, are you going to take that?
Yeah, I
Or
can take
Terrence?
that. Tim Jeffries, Acting Managing Deputy Commissioner in the Department of Planning. We have reviewed this issue extensively with law, and there are certainly some sources where we wouldn't be able to do this, but our law department was confident that because it's TIF, that's a inherently and fully local source, that it's fine. If we were mixing it with other sources or programs, it could be a problem. We at one point were evaluating this for all sources, including tax exempt bond funds, and it was a clear no-go with bond funds because of repayment conditions and its intersection with federal tax law. But with TIF, they reviewed it and came back with a bill of clean health, so to speak, from our a risk liability perspective.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Wheat, I'm going to ask tech support. May I have I'd like to see the commission, please, all the participants and not the screen with the cover page of thank you. All right, thanks.
Second question to either to staff or to the development team. Can you say more about the other sources? That's a pretty large slug of the financing. So could you describe in more detail what the other is in those sources?
And would it be possible to see those sources on the screen, just so?
Thank you. So either staff or development team, I'll default to y'all about who to answer that, or both.
Hi, my name is Richard Park. I'm with the development team. Besides construction financing and taking that in debt, the majority of it is equity that we're raising currently within the cannabis industry and from our partners.
But that's accounted for in the equity line. So I guess is the bulk then of the 3.2 million, the other sources, is the bulk of that lender financing, or is it? I guess I'm asking, what is the other funds under other sources? Is that just more lender financing, or what is it?
It's a combination of debt and more equity, or not more equity, but a combination of debt or real estate debt that we might take on.
Got it. And has that debt already has there been commitments behind that debt?
We don't have written commitments, but we're waiting for approval on this portion in order to finish pursuing that.
Okay. And then either for the development team or for DPD staff, I understand and appreciate the support of the alderman. Can you talk at all about other community engagement and what that has looked like and what the response has been?
Sure. So we've been doing this for the better part of a year.
I'm sorry, I need for you to, if anyone speaks, you need to introduce yourself every time you speak, just for purposes of the public record.
Sorry, this is Richard Park again. I was going to let my partner Jordan finish answering this question, as we've been in the community for quite a while doing some work.
Hi, this is Jordan Melendez with the development team. We've been engaging with the community for, the better part of 3 years, right? I'm a native of Humboldt Park, so West Side adjacent, right? But it's been our mission to not just to plop ourselves down, right? We want to align the goals of not only our company, but the business goals, right, of the local community as well. I guess, for lack of a better word, we're always trying to say that we're not just trying to come in and and just impose what we want to do. It's imperative that we listen to the community. So that's why we spent extensive amount of time engaging with different stakeholders of the community to ensure that we're not that we're wanted, right? Because we don't want to be anywhere that we're not wanted.
Yeah, I would also mention, this is Lisa Shin, part of the development team. We also have a community meeting upcoming this week with the aldermen, residents, and certain key stakeholders in the community. So we have, also engaged a community outreach partner to help us with those efforts there.
Okay, thank you. No other questions for me, Madam Chair.
Are there other questions from members of the commission? If you have questions, please use the raise your hand function. So, Commissioner Cox.
Apologies. I don't have a question as much as a comment. I've been following, obviously, the department, following this project over the course of its conception, acceptance, and ultimately the proposal that they've submitted. I'm absolutely thrilled by the level, the transformation that these entrepreneurs are creating on the site. It is a very, very handsome and somewhat unexpected transformation of a pretty derelict, non-contributing lot. And so I just want to, one, commend them for their architectural vision. And I hope that they're able to execute at the level of the presentations we've seen so far, because I think it's going to be quite a handsome building. These buildings, because of their use and communities still having to get used to having these in their community, they often have to look really good so that people associate them as contributing architecturally to the beautification of their neighborhood. And I think you have achieved that. And so I wanted to make note of that. Please encourage you to stay the course because it's a very handsome design. And we really were pleased with how you invested in an architectural vision for a site that wouldn't necessarily call out and have any expectation that there would be something beautiful there. So just wanted to put that on the record. And if if the applicant wants to address it, you know, that I welcome your observation.
So I see that Jordan Melendez has raised his hand, member of the development team.
Hi, this is Joe Melendez, member of the development team. First of all, I want to thank not only DPD, but you, Commissioner Cox, and Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Terrence Johnson, Gabriel, and all the individuals at DPD. You know, we've searched the city for the better part of 3 years, looking for an iconic spot, right? As mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, a lot of our principal officers are, you know, natives of the West Side, right? So it's imperative that we keep, you know, this catalytic business, you know, in a neighborhood that would, you know, to benefit demonstrably from an operation of this magnitude. So once again, you know, thank you for the opportunity, and yeah, we look forward to executing this in alignment with, you know, Invest Southwest, CRG, and all other current redevelopment plans.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. So as chair, I have a couple of questions, and it's either for the Department or the development team. If you could just speak to exactly who is in the partnership, your experience with these types of facilities, that would be very helpful for the public record.
Hi, this is Richard Park from the development team. As far as cultivation facilities go, I've helped in the development of several facilities for the larger MSOs in the state. I've consulted for Verano, in particular, building their Las Vegas facility. One of our other partners just recently completed Justice Grown's Pennsylvania facility. And our other partner, Lisa, has put together several facilities in California, covering sort of all the present legal markets.
And can you describe, for purposes of the public record, exactly who is the development team and the various roles within the development team?
Sure. My name is Richard Park. Myself and Lisa Shin handle operations, and then Lisa can describe her role more.
Sure. As Lisa Shin speaking, as Richard said, you know, my background is a combination of working in finance, coupled with spending, you know, the last decade or more in cannabis operations, handling, you know, their finance operations and also licensing and legal affairs. Other members of our team, you know, we have Nate Lovey, as Rich said, he had worked in the development side as project and construction manager for several cannabis build out facilities. He will consult on overall facility design, along with one of our principals and owners, Hyunwook Park. He will be our lead cultivation officer for the operations. So he is also integral in consulting on the facility design and systems. We have also on our team, Alan Weeby, Raul Stewart, and Carl Mitchell Twista. You know, Carl and Raul are West Side natives. They are very active in the community engagement side, public relations, and also along with branding. You know, you have Jordan Melendez, who is on the team. His background is working for, you know, he's experienced in working for a cannabis retailer, dispensary in the city. And, you know, he's involved on the legislative, political, and community outreach side as well.
Thank you for that description. And just a follow-up question. So the individuals that you mentioned, are they all participating in the LLC as equity owners? Are there other equity owners that you did not mention?
Sure. Those are all the equity owners. Two of those members are on an advisory basis and part of the management team, but not equity owners.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, do you have, are there other additional questions from members of the commission? If there are no further questions from the commission, I will now like to invite members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized. Each person I call upon to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Tech support, I don't see any hands raised. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairwoman. No hands raised.
Thank you. If there are no further questions or comments regarding this item, I will now call it to a vote. The resolution before us would provide DPD with authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC for the redevelopment of the property located at 4848 West Madison Street in the Madison Austin Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of KMKZ Real Estate Holding LLC as developer. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Wheat.
Thank you, Vice Chair Week. Do I have a second?
Second, Grace Chan McKibben.
Thank you, Secretary Chan McKibben. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat,
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
No.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Thomas is absent, Commissioner Trevino,
Yes.
and Chair Butler votes yes. The motion passes. Commissioners, for the next item of business, DPD is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with NeighborSpace, a nonprofit urban land trust, for the disposition of properties located at 3024 through 3040 West Fifth Avenue in the Midwest Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to NeighborSpace if no alternative proposals are received. Meg Gustafson will provide a brief description of this project on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Oh, good afternoon, Chairman Butler. I'm actually taking the place of Meg Gustafson today. She's actually out of town at this moment, so apologize. Good afternoon, Chairman, Chairwoman, and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Nelson Chung, and I'm representing today the Department of Planning and Development. The proposed project is the city disposition of city property at 3024 to 3040 West Fifth Avenue to NeighborSpace for the development of an eco-orchard community garden. The project is located in the Midwest Tax Increment Financing District. Community Development Commission approval is required for the transfer of property located within this redevelopment area. NeighborSpace is a city-created nonprofit land trust established to preserve and protect community open spaces. They hold the land for local community partners, who for this project is the Garfield Park Community Council. Ben Halpin, I should note, is the executive director for NeighborSpace, and he's actually in attendance on this call today. The property will be conveyed to NeighborSpace for $1 per parcel, and the project is located in the 28th Ward and has the support of Alderman Irvin. The above map shows the location of the property within the Midwest TIF. The TIF was originally created in 2020, and its redevelopment objectives include encouraging private investment and redevelopment of underutilized parcels. For context, the proposed Eco Orchard project is located in the East Garfield Park community area, which you can see in this map above you, along Fifth Avenue, and is between Sacramento and Kesey Avenue. The proposed garden consists of 8 city lots and sits on approximately 0.4 acres in size. We should point out that there's I'll wait for the next slide. Here you can see the map showing the 8 city parcels where the star is located. And I want to point out there was actually a companion Eco Orchard Garden on the southwest corner of Fifth Avenue and Sacramento, which is to the right of the screen. Both gardens are proposed to be held and managed by NeighborSpace with the Garfield Park Community Council as a local partner. And the subject of today's item is the garden on the north where the star is on the Fifth Avenue. NeighborSpace is the only not-for-profit community land trust located within the city, which preserves community open spaces. You know, their continued efforts and work with the city has created and established more than 100 gardens through the city. And I think the next slide. Here you can see a slide about NeighborSpace and some of the gardens they've established and created. Next slide, please. NeighborSpace's local garden for the Eco Orchard project is the Garfield Park Community Council and also the West Side Nature Play Network. Here you see some images in terms of the work they've done. And then the next slide, we have their proposed budget. The proposed budget for this Eco Orchard project is $333,068. Sources of funds include $111,068 from open space impact fees from the East Garfield Park community area, $160,000 from the Chicago Recovery Vacant Land Program, and $62,000 from the Christopher Family Foundation. In terms of the uses, you can see that the total project cost for this first phase is $333,000, which will pay for environmental cleanup of the property. And so background, the environmental cleanup involves the historical uses. Used to be a former cold storage and a partition of the site, and also a former dry cleaner nearby. Other uses for the scope include the grading of the site, fencing, and path work, which gets this to a phase 1 usable community space. NeighborSpace's plan is to then work with the community group to raise additional funds to pay for the nature play elements, which can be later phased in. Next slide. Above is the community design Eco Orchard project concept, which shows the vision for the full build out of the space, which includes a orchards in the rear and the top, nature inspired elements, and a play area. They plan on planting apple trees, pear, plum, and apricot trees, in addition to planting currants and raspberries for to provide a season-long kind of harvesting interest. And this next slide here shows some of the project-inspired nature play elements that were being considered through the community process. So Alderman Jason Irvin supports the proposed Eco Orchard project and the transfer of the land to NeighborSpace. So in summary, the Department of Plan and Development has thoroughly reviewed the proposed transfer of the 8 city parcels located at 3024 to 3040 West 5th Avenue to NeighborSpace. The department has reviewed the project's proposed public benefits and conformance with the redevelopment area plan. The department recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the approval of the city disposition of the property. And that concludes my testimony. And again, Ben Halpin from NeighborSpace is also on the call if there's any questions related to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. I would now like to recognize Alderman Irvin if he's on, or if anyone from his team is on the call. Tech support, can you just confirm that the Alderman is not on?
I don't see him. Chairwoman.
Okay, great, thank you. There were no written statements submitted for this item. We can now move to questions. Commissioners, Nelson, the department is joined today by Ben Helphand, the Executive Director of NeighborSpace. They are available to answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If you do have questions, then may I have the entire screen, please? For the commissioners. Please use the raise your hand function. I don't see any questions. Kamal, can you confirm that from the commission?
We have Commissioner Cox.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner
Yes.
Cox, please.
No, thank you. I just thought maybe I would offer a little bit of context because this project began before I took my position as commissioner. So it's been around for a while. You know, Neighbor Space, their reputation in the city speaks for themselves. I mean, they do some of the best open space activation in Chicago. And so we're really pleased that they're taking on this challenge with the resources that they need to actually have it be an exemplar of some of their best work. I have often been, you know, a critic of, you know, too much open space, too many community gardens, not enough development. And so, you know, I have really advanced things on behalf of Mayor Lightfoot, like Come Home initiative, which is meant to build infill housing in areas just like this. And so, although they have a really prime block, what you will see emerging on the rest of the block will be infill housing. It will be 6 flats, 2 flats, 3 flats, row houses. And we now have a strategy for building out Madison as a residential street, primarily. This is not a mixed-use street. But in any residential street, you need quality open space. And so I'm really pleased that they've identified such a critical place along Madison that will be the neighborhood community gathering place for all of the housing that will happen around them. And it's the combination of those two that I think is a winning strategy. So I know that this commission hasn't yet had to vote on the pipeline of infill housing that is coming behind this, but do understand that it's a two-sided strategy. One is open space, and I actually think it's appropriate that we lead with the open space, but I'm pretty confident over the course of this year, you will be seeing many land transactions for the infill housing that will emerge on the same street as this open space. So that's a little bit the context. Thank you for letting me put a framework around this.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Those comments were very helpful. Do we have other questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no further questions or comments from the commissioners, I would now like to invite members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized. Each person I call upon to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. I don't see any hands raised. I'm sorry. I see a hand raised from, is it Makina Atkins? Atkins, I'm sorry. Cannot see this very well. Makina Atkins, please begin.
Hi, I just have a question. The chairperson said that there will be developments coming. I'm just wondering when we can expect those. Is it within the next 2 years, the next 5 years?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask Commissioner Cox, and just for purposes of clarification, it was not the chair that made the comment regarding the additional developments. It was Commissioner Maurice Cox, who leads the Department of Planning and Development for the City of Chicago. So Commissioner Cox, if you would please answer the question, that would be very helpful.
Thank you. And thank you for the question. In October, the Mayor Lightfoot launched the Come Home initiative, which is an effort to fill in the vacant parcels that are owned in 6 geographies, and Garfield Park is one of those geographies for infill housing, primarily owner occupancy housing. We solicited design proposals from around the country for those housing models that are currently on exhibit at the Chicago Architecture Center. If speaker would like to see some of them. That will be followed by a call for developers These are smaller developers, developers who do community development. So many people in the West Side already. There will be a call by the end of this month, and all of these calls for developers are posted on our website. And we hope that the first housing models will break ground this year. But this is a 3-year effort, and it will involve dozens and dozens of properties. Additionally, something that we still are trying to process is the Shy Block Builder Initiative, where the city put 2,000 parcels on the south and west side for sale. And the speaker can go to the website still today and see those properties. There were, for 2,000 properties that we put out, 1,700 applications came in. And they were pretty evenly split between people who wanted to do open space proposals, side lots, and others who wanted to do housing, both market rate and affordable. So that's the context. You know, the only hard and fast date we have is at the end of this month. We will put out the call for developers for these infill housing developments. So I encourage the speaker to look out for that if she potentially is one of those who would be interested in doing infill housing.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there other questions or comments from Makima Atkins?
No, there isn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are there other questions or comments from the members of the public? Tech support, can you confirm that there are no additional hands raised from members of the public?
No other hands raised.
Thank you. If there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will call the item to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with NeighborSpace, a nonprofit urban land trust, for the disposition of properties located at 3024 through 3040 West 5th Avenue in the Midwest Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to NeighborSpace if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'm sorry, I believe it was moved by Vice Chair Wheat. Do I have a second?
Second by Trevino.
Thank you, Commissioner Trevino. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat.
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Thomas is absent, Commissioner Trevino,
Yes.
and Chair Butler votes yes. The motion passes. Commissioners, for our next item of business, DPD is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with NeighborSpace, a nonprofit urban land trust, for the disposition of the property located at 3302 through 3326 East 92nd Street in the South Chicago Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to NeighborSpace if no responsive alternative proposals are received. I believe that Nelson Chung will provide a brief description of this Opportunity on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon again, Chairman, Chairwoman, and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Nelson Chung, and I'm with the Department of Planning and Development. The proposed project again is the city disposition of property at 3302 to 3326 East 92nd Street to neighbor space for development of the Calumet Gateway Garden. Project is located in the South Chicago Tax Increment Financing District. So Community Development Commission approval is required for the transfer of property located within this redevelopment area. Neighbor Space, again, is a city-created nonprofit established to preserve and protect community open spaces. They hold land for local community partners, and in this case, for this project, is the Colorations Associates, who are the local partner. The project will be conveyed to Neighbor Space for $1 per parcel, and the project is located in 10th Ward and has the support of Alderman Garza. Next slide. This map shows the location in 2000, and its redevelopment objectives include encouraging private investment and redevelopment of underutilized properties. Next slide. For more context, the proposed Calumet Gateway Garden project here you can see is located in the South Chicago community area and located pretty close to the Calumet River, where the yellow dot is pointed at. So we're going to zoom in a little closer to the next slide. On this slide, the garden project is highlighted in yellow circle, and you can see that it's located at intersection of 92nd Street, Mackinac, and Ewing Avenue. The garden project sits in the Invest Southwest corridor outlined in this map in orange, and is a half block away from the Sacred Affordable Multifamily Housing Project, which is located to the southwest of the project site. And then one last thing I do want to point out is that CDOT has been making streetscape improvements along both 92nd Street and Commercial Avenue. Some context. The next slide I have here is going to show the property parcels. Again, this is the proposed Calumet Gateway Gardens, consists of this project of 11 property parcels and sits on approximately 0.64 acres. 10 of the properties are city-owned, which are outlined in red, and are being proposed to be transferred to Neighbor Space. I should point out there's one privately owned lot, which is outlined in yellow, and Neighbor Space is separately working and negotiating with the property owner to acquire that last lot for full assembly. And then in the next slide here, I've got some more additional context images. You can see here again, this is it just shows an aerial perspective of the community garden, and you can see how close it is to the Calumet River right off of Ewing Avenue. This is a zoning map, which shows the property zone RM-5, which permits community gardens. And then just going back to explain a little bit in Neighbor Space, they are again, the only nonprofit community land trust located in the city of Chicago for preservation of community open spaces. You know, their continued efforts and work have created more than 100 gardens throughout the entire city. Neighbor Space's local partner here, you can see, is Coloration Associates. And the Colorations is a nonprofit community development corporation, and their focus is on housing, safe neighborhoods, and violence prevention in the southeast side. We're going to get to the budget now, which is the next slide. The proposed budget for this first phase Calumet Gateway Garden project is $1.36 million. Sources of funds include $75,000 from open space impact fees from the South Chicago community area, $500,000 from the Chicago Recovery Vacant Land Program, $300,000 from the National Fish Wildlife Chi-Cal River Fund, $372,000 from Fifth Third Bank, and 75,000 from the Central Indiana Community Foundation. So you see there's a quite a diversity of funding sources allocated to the project. Most of the funds will be used to pay for environmental cleanup of the property. Past their environmental reports show that the past uses included a nearby gas station, and also because of its proximity to the industrial corridor necessitates cleanup. They're also using the funds toward excavation, installation of a stormwater green infrastructure, grading of site, fencing, and path work, just like before the prior project, to get to a usable community space. And their plan too is that they will work with the community group to raise additional funds later to add in the nature play elements, which can be later phased in. And our next slide shows you the inspired community design inspired project here, which shows the this is the vision for the full build out of the Calumet River Gateway Garden, and shows the green infrastructure, rain gardens, to proposing a dry riverbed, a wood stage that's in the middle of the site, an embankment with some slides for kids to play on, and other nature inspired elements and play areas. And just the next slide shows you the kind of ideas that the community would work with. Here you can see the green infrastructure, the dry riverbed, and the kind of boardwalk being proposed. And the next picture slide shows you some of the nature inspired play elements. And the next slide. And here you see the nature play elements here in terms of the nature inspired players who work, these are non-traditional playground equipment, but more nature inspired play equipment. In conclusion, Alderman Susan Solowski Garza supports the proposed Gateway Garden project. I know she's not here today, but she did reach out to us this morning, and she emphasized that she is in full support of the project. And also the Department of Planning Development, in summary, has thoroughly reviewed the proposed transfer of the 8 city lots to from 3024 3040 West. I'm sorry, the 8 city lots to neighbor space. And the department has thoroughly reviewed the project to propose public benefits and conforms with the redevelopment plan. The department, in summary, recommends that the CDC recommend to City Council the approval for the city disposition of the property. So that concludes my testimony. And again, I do want to recognize that Ben Halpin, who's the executive director for Neighbor Space, who's been working on the project for quite some time, is here to answer any questions directly for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. As Nelson stated, we did receive confirmation that Alderwoman Garza was not able to attend today's meeting, but she did reiterate her support of the item to DPD staff, and I wanted to just make that statement for the record. No written statements from the public were submitted on this matter. We can now move on to questions from members of the commissions. Commissioners, Nelson is joined today by Ben Helphan, the Executive Director of Neighbor Space. They are both available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If you do, please indicate you have questions and would like to make a comment by using the raise your hand function. Commissioner Cox.
Yes, this is a question, I guess, for Benjamin Helphan. These are 2 really ambitious projects, and take on a lot of environmental infrastructure, pretty state-of-the-art kind of nature playscapes. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization's ability to execute these projects basically simultaneously? They seem pretty ambitious, and I don't think most people know how Neighbor Space gets the work done.
Sure thing. Ben Helphan with Neighbor Space. Thank you for the question, because I think you're right. These are ambitious. And as you know, there are other projects as well, like the First Nations Garden, that are coming in the pipeline as well. And we're well aware of the magnitude of the work before us. and we are bringing on new staff to take on the challenge. We are planning on, we're working on the timing for when the land will be transferred and the funding is coming in, but to have a person designated to work almost exclusively on the remediation of these sites, and then several project managers that will be focusing on these sites almost exclusively, because, you know, as has been mentioned, we own or otherwise preserve more than 100 sites, 134 sites now. So we don't want to pull all of our staff away from the sites that we already steward. So we are bringing on new people to really focus on these new developments exclusively, and they'll be coming on board probably in about between 2 and 3 months.
That's great. And I would just underscore that I don't know if Nelson showed, but the proximity of this particular garden to new housing by the Claretian Development Corporation, there's a natural synergy. There will be families with children who will be able to walk safely to this space because they will live right down the block. So it's again a part of that strategy of, you know, the 15-minute neighborhood where you should be able to, you know, buy your groceries, go to a safe neighborhood playscape, and live affordably in the same community. So, you know, this particular park is providing that neighborhood scale play place and just gathering place for the neighborhood. But it goes hand in hand with the housing that's happening a block away.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I see a hand raised from Secretary Chan McKibben.
This is not a question, it's actually a comment. I'm actually very encouraged to see a new development in the 10th Ward, and also using a lot of this vacant space. I know that there will be a lot of environmental cleanup because it's the proximity to the old industrial corridor, but I think it's great that there will be an outdoor garden of this size and with all the features. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Chan McKibben. Are there other comments or questions from members of the commission? If there are no further comments or questions from members of the commission, I would now like to invite members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized. Each person I call upon to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. I don't see any hands raised by members of the public. Can tech support confirm that?
That's correct, Chairwoman. No hands raised.
Thank you. Given that there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will now call agenda item C to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with NeighborSpace, a nonprofit urban land trust, for the disposition of the property located at 3302 through 3326 East 92nd Street in the South Chicago Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to NeighborSpace if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Grace Chan McKibben.
Thank you, Secretary Chan McKibben. Do I have a second?
Second by Trevino.
Thank you, Commissioner Trevino. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Weeks.
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas is absent. Commissioner Trevino.
Yes.
And Chair Butler votes yes. The motion passes. Commissioners, for the next item of business, DPD is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into negotiated sale with Makeba Adkins for the disposition of properties located at 2215 West Warren Boulevard in the Central West Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to Makeba Adkins if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Ernest Bellamy will provide a brief description of this opportunity on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Butler and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Ernest Bellamy. I am a West Region City Planner in the Department of Planning and Development. I bring forward to you today a request for a market rate land disposition for one parcel at 2215 West Warren Boulevard for a residential development. The parcel is within the near West Side community area and lies within the Central West TIF. As stated, the purchaser is Makeba Adkins, a long-standing neighborhood resident living a block away from the site for over the past decade. She has agreed to purchase the lot for the market rate value listed on screen. The neighborhood aerial context within the near west side shows the site lying roughly 2 blocks east of Northwestern Avenue within the near west side. Kind of zoomed in, the site itself is on the rests between Levitt Street and Oakley Boulevard. Lot dimensions are for the site are roughly 42 feet wide by 124 feet long, roughly 5,000 square feet with RT4 zoning. The context of the neighborhood is a mix of various residential typologies, as you see here on screen. Kind of looking at the site, again, the site's roughly 5,200 square feet. And here's a view from Warren Boulevard, looking southeasterly across the site. And from the rear alley, looking north across the site. The residential development design consists of a 2-story brick veneer facade residential building with cedar siding on the sides and the rear. And here's the west and east elevations, which again has a brick veneer that returns 4 feet onto the side where the predominant material is cedar siding for the sides. And lastly, in the rear will be a garage, a 3-car garage. In conclusion, the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and recommends that the CDC recommends the market rate disposition of 2215 West Warren Boulevard to City Council for the approval of the city's disposition of the property. Alderman Burnett is supportive and in attendance, as well as the applicant, Makeba Adkins. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding the project. And here concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ernest. I actually did see Alderman Burnett. Can tech support confirm, is Alderman Burnett still on this call?
It looks like he dropped off, Chairwoman.
All right, thank you. If I could just ask the department, if you could speak to the specifically Alderman Burnett's support of this project.
I think that's a question for Ernest.
Yes, a question for Ernest.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So we've met with the alderman numerous times with regards to the disposition of this property, and he has expressed his support with regards to the disposition.
And Alderman Burnett was on, joined promptly, actually right before 1 p.m. And so I'm sure he wanted to personally express his support. So thank you. No written statements from the public were submitted on this matter. We can now move to questions. And I would just like to ask tech support, if Alderman Burnett comes back on and I don't see him, please let me know. Commissioners, Ernest Bellamy is available to help answer your questions as well as the applicant. Are there any questions? Secretary Chan McKibben.
My question is, what are the surrounding housing stock like? Maybe I missed it in the presentation. I'm somewhat familiar with this area, but just wanted to see what the surrounding looks like and whether this house will fit in with the rest of the block.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So the surrounding context.
I'm sorry, Ernest, could you please introduce yourself for purposes of the record?
Apologies. Again, for the record, Ernest Bellamy, the Department of Planning and Development. Thank you for the question. The surrounding context varies between single-family homes, townhomes, and 3 and 6 flat units.
Secretary Chan McKibben, any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I think that's my question. Like I think that there is a mix of newer townhomes and then there are older building stock. Is that what I'm remembering? This is just west of, right by the United Center, right?
Correct. This is roughly 2 to 3 blocks west of the United Center.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Are there other members of the commission who have questions or comments? I don't see any additional hands raised. Kamal, can you confirm that?
Commissioner McKibben is the only hand raised.
All right, thank you. If there are no further questions from members of the commission, I would now like to invite members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized. Each person I call upon to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. I don't see any hands raised. Can tech support please confirm that?
That's correct, Chair.
If there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, we will now call the item to a vote. In the resolution, yes.
I'm so sorry. We have Makema Atkins raised hand.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Makema Atkins, please begin.
Hi, this is Makema Atkins. I just wanted to reiterate that I've lived in the neighborhood for almost 14 years. I live across the alley from this lot. It's been vacant for the duration of that time. I love the neighborhood. I have 2 businesses in the neighborhood. I volunteer at my kids' school, so I really want to stay in the neighborhood. And while there are lots of building, and I'm so happy there's so many new buildings going up, there are a few single family homes, and with an increasing family, you know, living in a multi-unit building gets harder when you need a home office and a yard for your children. So I've been trying to buy this lot for almost 3 years. So I'm just hoping we can move this process along, because I really do love where I am and want to stay where I am. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there other comments or questions from members of the public?
No other hands raised, Chairman.
Thank you. So I will now call this item to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Makeba Atkins for the disposition of properties located at 2215 West Warren Boulevard in the Central West Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to Makeba Atkins if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Do I have a second?
Second, Grace Chan McKibben.
Thank you, Secretary Chan McKibben. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Weeks,
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Thomas is absent, Commissioner Trevino,
Yes.
and Chair Butler votes yes, the motion passes. Commissioners, thankfully, that was our last item on today's agenda, and I would now like to request a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Trevino. Do I have a second?
Second, Curtis.
Thank you, Commissioner Curtis. All those in favor signify by saying yes. I think everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bye-bye.
Bye.